Already.
Now recording. All right. So, I've been having difficulty with people who don't study the book, who have not read the book, and there's a lot of condemnation that's not biblical and is not warranted because they haven't read it. They got a lot of the information hearsay, and so they believe the hearsay more than they believe the book because hearsay is a shortcut for them having to go read the book themselves. So, one of the biggest pickles, or one of my biggest bones of contention, is when it comes to the holidays. And I have been teaching people that, hey, you're not keeping the holidays at all. The holidays can't be kept over here in America. And the newest thing they like to do now is a laughing emoji, an LOL emoji, and as if to say what you just told them was ridiculous. And so I said, well, hey, around Passover time, I felt the unction to go and conduct a study to prove exactly what I'm saying and to show them that if you're not doing Passover in Israel, you're not doing it. So here it comes. Because I guess the attitude nowadays is that as long as we're doing something, we're doing what's required. But I'm like, no, there's other requirements that you're leaving out, which makes it not the authentic and actual commandment fulfillment. And so this is what this study is about today. I took the time to find out all the instructions. Let me say instructions for Passover, because I didn't go to places like Second Chronicles and Ezra, which talks about, and other scriptures that after the Torah. I just stayed in the Torah because I wanted the instructions. Because outside the Torah, you'll find Passover being spoken about, but it's speaking about how Israel kept the Passover and what they did during that Passover. Like Josiah, he kept the Passover and explains all the details of his Passover. Then it talks about Hezekiah kept the Passover. It talks about how Ezra kept the Passover for the Israelites that came out of Babylon. So today it's just going to be Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy, the ordinances and the laws of Passover. That's what we're going to cover today. All right?
Sounds good.
Let's get to it. My computer will work on time to be smooth for the mug, but no. Got the delay. Let's get started. God dang, man. Wouldn't you know it? All right, here we go. Come on, dude. It's got to be the slowest laptop in the world. Okay, here we go. This. Oh man, I hate when it does it twice. Anyway, back to the thing. Pull up the study so we can get started. Okay, you see that, Deb?
I see it.
Okay, cool. Now I'm trying to get us back on the screen at the same time. I'm gonna go to gallery view, if you don't mind, and put it over here. Okay. Ah, boy. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this for a second. Just bear with me 1 minute, because I think this will make it go into gallery view, and that's exactly what I want. There we go. All right. Say something, Deb.
Hi.
Very good. I wanted you to say something because whenever you say something, you appear on the screen. That's why I wanted to go do this on YouTube Live, because you would show up at exact same time as I am, and always will be on the screen.
Got you.
But now, because it does it this way, it only shows me because I'm talking. So whenever you talk, you will appear on the screen. So anyway, the Passover study. I want to start at Exodus 12 and read 1 through 28. Can you see it on my screen? Because it's kind of small, so that's why I gave you the file.
We're good.
We're good. All right. Here we go. Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt. Let me explain what you're going to see. Let me explain what you're going to see here, so this will make sense. This is an aggregated study. An aggregated study means what, Wandell? Okay. There are commands and there's sub-commands. Now, the sub-commands will be indented beneath the major commands, and I went through the trouble of bolding the actual commands. Things that aren't commands or laws or ordinances or whatever, they are not bolded. So that should help you be able to navigate through this and understand what you're looking at. And I'll take a moment to explain that as I go through it. And things that are under the sub-commands, they're indented even further. Okay? So that's just to help you get a visual, so you don't just see one piece of text in a paragraph, one piece of text just going down like that. I believe if you do it this way, it helps the mind understand what you're looking at a lot better. Okay? So that's how I conduct my studies. And so I'm bringing you into my world. Hopefully it will make a difference to you. Hopefully it makes sense to you. And that's the reason why Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt is not bold, because it's not a command. Okay? Next is a command. This month shall be the beginning of months. The next line is indented because it relates to that same topic. First among the months of the year. Okay? All the congregations of the children of Israel. I should have unbolded that one, my bad. The 10th of this month, take each man a lamb, according to the houses of their families, every man a lamb for his household. If they be few in his household, that there aren't enough for the lamb, he take with him his neighbor that lives near to him. Okay? As to the number of souls according to which suffices him. Now, can you hear Arius?
No.
You can't hear Arius?
No.
Okay. So maybe they won't either. All right. He take with him his neighbor that lives near to him, as the number of souls according to which suffices him. A lamb unblemished, a male of a year old, of the lambs and the kids. It shall be kept by you till the 14th of this month. All the congregation of the Bnei Israel shall kill it toward the evening. I'm trying to figure out, should I go into the details about that, but I think I'll do that the next video, because there's going to be another video after this one where I combine all the laws to show you the differences in the book. Because what some people don't understand is they'll take the time to read this, and that's all they will read about Passover, when there are 3 other books that are witnesses to the laws and ordinances of Passover. And when they are read in succession, then do you get a complete picture of the Passover, which makes sense as to why some of these people say I'm ridiculous by saying, hey, we can eat the Passover wherever we want to, because they ate it in Egypt, they ate it in the wilderness, they ate it in Jordan or Moab. I'm like, so? But the command came later, to where he had a final commandment regarding Passover and how it is to be kept. Because you have some people, you have the European Jews that will have their plate with all them indentions in it, and they got an egg, they got a shank, and they got applesauce and all that kind of stuff. And we know that's not the proper way to keep Passover, because Passover is to be kept in the land that God gave the Israelites, as well as the place where he placed his name. Now, maybe the Caucasian Jews have a justification for bypassing that commandment. I don't know if I'm going to agree with it or not, but it's being done regardless. That's why I say there's no law that says you cannot keep a Passover-like meal, a Passover memorial meal, where you live, but there is one that comes close to saying don't do it. We'll get to it. It's in Deuteronomy. Move this over. And they shall take of the blood and shall put it on the two doorposts. I don't see nobody doing that anymore. And on the lintel, in the houses, in whichsoever they shall eat them. And they shall eat the flesh in the night, roast with fire. And they shall eat unleavened bread with bitter herbs. Okay. Okay. You shall not eat of it raw, nor sodden in the water, but only roast with fire. The head with the feet and the appurtenances. Okay. Nothing shall be left of it till the morning, and the bone of it you shall not break. But that which is left of it till the morning, you shall burn with fire. And thus shall you eat it. With your loins girded, sandals on your feet, your staves in your hand, and you shall eat of it in haste. It's a Passover to the Lord. Oh, wow, okay. Next. So these are the commands given during the Exodus, during the actual event of the Passover. Some more. And the first day shall be called holy. All right. And on the seventh day shall be a holy convocation to you. You should not do servile work on them, only as many things as will necessarily be done by every soul. This only shall be done by you. Okay, so now we're moving away from the Passover, and this is more like the instructions for Feast of Unleavened Bread. And you shall keep this commandment, for on this day will I bring out your force out of the land of Egypt, and you shall make this day a perpetual ordinance for you throughout your generation, beginning the 14th day of the first month. You shall eat unleavened bread from evening till the 21st day of the month till evening. 7 days leaven shall not be found in your houses. Whoever shall eat anything leavened, that soul shall be cut off from the congregation of Israel, both among the occupiers of the land and the original inhabitants. You shall eat nothing leavened, but in every habitation of you, every habitation of you shall eat unleavened bread. What? Either that was a typo on either that was a typo on the LXX 2012's part, or it might have been mine. All right, it's next. All right, so and Moses called all the elders of the children of Israel and said to them, go away and take to yourselves a lamb according to your kindred, and kill the Passover. You shall take a bunch of hyssop, and having dipped it into some of the blood that is by the door, you shall touch it to the lintel. You shall touch the lintel, and shall put it upon both doorposts, even of the blood which is by the door. But you shall not go out everyone from the door of his house till the morning. And the Lord shall pass by to strike the Egyptians, and shall see the blood upon the lintel and upon both the doorposts. And the Lord shall pass by the door, and shall not suffer the destroyer to enter into the houses to strike you, and keep you this thing as an ordinance for yourselves and for your children forever. All right. Um, I'm gonna be a stickler about something. Now, what Moses told them to do, I don't think was necessarily what God told them to do. Let me go back and just for a second and see. Okay, because I remember bitter herbs being mentioned,
Mm-hmm.
but I remember them being specifically told to be eaten with unleavened bread. Yeah, and Moses told them to take the bitter herbs and dip it into the blood. I didn't see that before. I'll get back to it maybe in the next video
That's interesting.
where I go and explain
Mm-hmm.
these things. So next video, all these unbold, all that unbold text we extracted. We're just gonna focus on the bold text. So this is Exodus. Oh, yeah, here we go. Exodus. Let me see. 24. Okay, cool. Here we go. All right. And if you should enter into the land which the Lord shall give you as he has spoken, keep this service. And that's underlined for a reason. That's underlined because I couldn't find another way to highlight this since it's already bold.
Mm-hmm.
So I underlined the if you should enter into the land which the Lord shall give you as he has spoken, keep this service. So this is something that's supposed to be done perpetually once they get into
The land.
Israel, right? So, but that's not the point. That's not the point I was talking about. There's other things that will be addressed, and what we'll see is every book has an addendum to these ordinances and laws regarding the Passover. And I think what happens is people haven't read those other books, so they are only stuck in one paradigm when it comes to Passover. And it shall come to pass, if your sons say to you, what is this service? That you shall say to them, the Passover is a sacrifice to the Lord. As he defended the houses of the children of Israel in Egypt, when he struck the Egyptians, but delivered our houses. And the Lord, and when the people bowed and worshiped, and the children of Israel departed and did as the Lord commanded Moses and Aaron, so they did. It is a watch kept to the Lord, so that he should bring them out of the land of Egypt. That very night is a watch. Keep a watch kept to the Lord, so that it should be to all the children of Israel to their generations. Now that word generations could cause some confusion.
I was waiting on that one.
Were you waiting on that one?
Yes.
Okay. It should be to all the children of Israel to their generations. Now, some people think, well, it's to this generation now, it's to the next generation to come, it's to the next generation to come after, it's to the next generation to come after that. Now, I think that is an improper way to understand this text because there were multiple generations in Israel at the time. You had grandmothers, you had children, you had grandchildren, you had some great grandchildren probably, if life expectancy lasted that long. So that could very well be the generations that were present at that time this command was given. That because we're talking about that very night is a watch kept to the Lord, so that it should be to all the children of Israel. So all the children of Israel were required to keep it that night. It wasn't like, oh, well, get Benjamin and Levi and Judah, we're going to keep it. But the rest of y'all go back to work.
Yeah.
It wasn't like that. All of us had to do it. Or all of them had to do it. Right? And the Lord said to Moses and Aaron, this is the law of the Passover. We saw the ordinances of the Passover. Now we're seeing the law of the Passover. I don't know if people know how to make that distinction. They should. I'll cover that next time. No stranger shall eat of it. This is the law proceeding. I'm proceeding. No stranger shall eat of it, and every slave or servant bought with money, him you shall circumcise. Then, all that, then shall he eat it. A sojourner or hireling should not eat of it. Okay, let me get this back over here. All right. In one house shall it be eaten, as you should not carry off the flesh out from the house. Now, I'll say this, that it kind of reminds me of Sukkot, Feast of Tabernacles,
Mhm.
where everything's supposed to be done in that booth they create. The fact that they're all supposed to be in one house, even if a family, the lamb is too big for a family to eat, they're supposed to invite another family over, and they're supposed to be in the house and stay in that house for all night. You know, you're not supposed to leave until the morning.
Mhm.
But the thing about the Sukkot that's interesting is that Sukkot is exactly 6 months after this.
Mhm.
You know, so it's like the polar opposite of this time of year. And it's interesting because this is the time of the year where Aries prevails. Aries prevails over this time of year. Aries is the ram. This is the time of the Feast of the Lamb, which is given in sacrifice to the Almighty. And 6 months later is a time of Libra, which is the scales, justice and judgment. And so that's the Day of Atonement, or that the Day of Atonement is not far before Feast of Tabernacles. Then you have the Feast of Trumpets and stuff like that. So I find that interesting how that all works out. And when house shall you be eaten, and a bone of it you shall not break. Heard that a few times. All the congregation of the children of Israel shall keep it. And if any proselyte or proselyte shall come to you to keep the Passover to the Lord, you shall circumcise every male of him. Then shall he approach to sacrifice it. And he shall be even as the original inhabitants of the land. No uncircumcised person shall eat of it. There shall be one law to the native and to the proselyte coming among you. You shall not suffer the blood of my sacrifice, or you shall not offer the blood of my sacrifices with leaven. Neither shall the sacrifices of the feast of Passover remain till the morning. So I do want to mention this, that Passover is a unique holy day because this is not a holy day that's dependent on the Levite to make the sacrifices. This is a holy day where the Israelite himself, or the elder, the head of the house,
Mhm.
makes the sacrifice himself. He gets to play the part of a priest and offer sacrifices to the Lord.
It's their direct sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
It's their direct sacrifice.
Right, exactly. And it's a gift. It's also called a gift. So now we're in Leviticus 23, 5 through 8. This look green to you? It's supposed to be green.
It's green.
It's green? Okay, cool. In the first month, on the 14th day of the month, between the evening times, is the Lord's Passover. That's about all this talks about. The rest of it is going to talk about Feast of Unleavened Bread. On the 15th day of this month is a feast of unleavened bread to the Lord. 7 days shall you eat unleavened bread. The first day shall be a holy convocation to you. You shall do no servile work, and you shall offer whole burnt offerings to the Lord 7 days. And the seventh day shall be a holy convocation to you. You shall do no servile work. So the first day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread is a holy convocation.
Mhm.
So is the seventh day. You're looking at it. Unleavened bread is the 15th day. Passover is the 14th day. So this is an 8-day holy day. I mean, that's some partying going on, you know.
Mhm.
So it's kind of exhausting too. Because I've done it by myself, for my kids. And I'm like, when it's done, you're so glad it's over. But when it comes, he's so glad it's here because Passover is like one of my favorite holidays.
Right.
Yeah. All right. So we're leaving Exodus. We just got a short snippet of Exodus. And now we're dealing with Numbers. Numbers 9, 1 through 14. And when I do the second portion of the study, I will extract all the mentions of the feast of unleavened bread, because I don't want to confuse anything. I left it here so people wouldn't complain. Oh, that's not the whole scripture. If there was somebody silly enough to do that,
Yeah.
right?
Would be.
Right. Some people would. So just to satisfy that, to make it seem like I'm not trying to contort the scripture, I left it there. And the Lord spoke to Moses in the wilderness of Sinai in the second year. Okay, so the first Exodus was Moses being spoken to in Egypt. That first Passover was taking place in Egypt. Now, this is instructions. These are the laws that's being given to Moses after that event, and then in the wilderness, and then in the second year. So a year has passed by already, and Passover is about to approach them again. After they had gone forth from the land of Egypt in the first month. So it's almost exactly a year later. In the first month, saying, Speak and let the children of Israel keep the Passover in its season. On the 14th day of the first month at even. Okay, we're familiar with that one. That was said in Leviticus and Exodus. So we'll see how it's repeating, but we're gonna see some new stuff being added. You shall keep it in its season. You shall keep it according to its law and according to its ordinance. Okay, see both law and ordinance. If some people thought they were both the same thing. And Moses ordered the children of Israel to sacrifice the Passover on the 14th day of the first month in the wilderness of Sinai. I don't know why I got that bolder. That should be bolder. And the Lord appointed Moses, so the children of Israel did, as the Lord appointed Moses, so the children of Israel did. And there came men. Here's a unique situation. Here is a unique situation that they had not encountered. So we can see all the holes have not been filled regarding Passover. And that's what's going to happen from here on out until they get to the land of promise. Okay, so there's certain situations that were not, maybe, I don't know if God didn't think about it at first.
Yeah, we're not accounting.
Because, right. So he's doing it, he's taking care of it now. So that's why there's addendums to the Passover law. And they were not able to, let me go back. And there came men who were unclean by reason of a dead body. So they were unclean for the Passover. And they were not able to keep the Passover on that day. And they came before Moses and Aaron on that day. And those men said to Moses, We are unclean by reason of the dead body of a man. Shall we therefore fail to offer the gift to the Lord in its season, in the midst of the children of Israel? And Moses said to them, Stand here, and I will hear what charge the Lord will give concerning you. All right. And that some laws came by way of addressing a situation that was unique and that was outside the realms of the provisions of that law. That's what some people need to understand. I don't think they understand that. Okay? Speak to the children of Israel, saying, Whatever man shall be unclean by reason of a dead body, or on a journey far off, among you, or your posterity, he shall then keep the Passover to the Lord in the second month, on the 14th day. In the evening they shall offer it. With unleavened bread and bitter herbs shall they eat it. So this is the exemption law, I guess, or exemption clause of Passover. If you can't keep the Passover that day for these reasons, then let's just say a Passover, like this year, Passover was in April the 19th, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I would say I was dirty. I think I was too. Say I was dirty on unclean on that Passover. I could keep it in May
May 19th. It's only
19th.
30 days.
Huh?
It's like a 30-day window. 30 days.
Exactly. 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 I'm I think it was 30 days because I think the months were only 29 and 30 days. I don't know if maybe every leap year or something like that, they may have a 31st month. I could be wrong about that. I'm trying to remember from memory. Don't always happen. They shall not leave of it until the morrow. Same laws. And they shall not break a bone of it. Same laws. Heard that many times. They shall sacrifice it according to the ordinance of the Passover. So even though it's done in May, still got to follow those laws.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever man shall be clean and shall not be far off on a journey, and shall fail to keep the Passover, that soul shall be cut off from his people, because he has not offered the gift to the Lord in his season. That man shall bear his iniquity. Now, speaking of which, I had to take a fast forward trip in a time machine to today. I had to come back to today, and I think about all the people that are offering, or all the people that are supposedly keeping Passover, and I'm really not, because basically when they keep the Passover, what they do is they go down to the grocery store and get some lamb wrapped up in cellophane and styrofoam. Right. That wasn't, that they didn't get on the 10th day, that wasn't alive, that didn't keep in the house, all that kind of stuff. But yet they grill that meat up on the 14th evening, and then they supposedly have kept the Passover. I mean, I think Christianity has dumbed down the minds of people that follow the Bible, because they think they can get away with this kind of stuff, and they can't. That is breaking the law. Just like if
I don't think it's Christianity, though.
you think it's Christianity?
Ourselves.
For me, I thought that Christianity gave you that come as you are attitude. So if you believe that you could just come before God as you are, and God is going to accept you, then God will more than likely accept anything you do, just as long as it's done in His name, supposedly.
Mm-hmm.
But I think,
go back to these laws, though, nowhere does it ever say, this is what I think we don't ever understand. Nowhere does He say, for now, do it the best you can. Shot. That's not written. You
right.
Do it the way it's written, or it is only in a memorial to Him. And
right.
Aware that you're keeping it, because you're not.
Exactly.
You have to understand that part.
And see, the problem I don't have a problem with somebody doing that at all, whatever. And it's not really whether I have a problem with it or not, because it's not about me.
Mm-hmm.
But what I do have a problem with is when somebody gets when they're condemning of people who don't do it.
Right.
Or they want to sit on Facebook and argue for a whole week about what not to do, and then point the finger and say, you guys are keeping those pagan holidays, and those pagan holidays shouldn't be kept. I'm like, well, dude, you're not even keeping the Israeli holy day completely. Yeah. So how about you just go somewhere and just hush and live and let live, Right. That's the best thing you could, yeah. Because what you're doing is you got a big old beam in your eye, and you're trying to get the splinter out your brother's.
There you go.
Right. Yeah. So I read all that. Oh, that man shall bear his iniquity. Okay. Number still on verse 14. And if there should come to you a stranger in your land, and should keep the Passover to the Lord, he shall keep it according to the law of the Passover and according to its ordinances. Well, I was going to say in Egypt they didn't have to worry about that, but now they're in the wilderness, they might be encountering some people who might be, because I'm going to tell you something. In the desert, in the wilderness, it's better to be in a group of people than to be an individual by yourself or a small party. So if you see a party of 6,000 plus, 600,000 plus coming your way, you might want to say, hey, let us join with them and be in safety, because it could be treacherous out there, because it's a harsh environment for any individual person or any single family or any group of families, unless you're already have a well dug and some other things, some crops growing, which was impossible for crops to grow out there. And I'm not going to say that because the way it looks now may not have been the way it looked in centuries ago. Okay, thousands of years ago. I mean, it may have been flourishing with green life. Who knows? But nowadays it looks like a desert. Okay, but we know they had difficulty finding sustenance there. But we do know that the wilderness possessed palm trees because they found a place with 72 palms, and I forgot what they called it. And then they found some wells that was already dug and whatnot. So, yeah, just throwing it out there as a FYI moment. There shall be one law for you, both for the stranger and for the native of the land. Now, I'm curious, who would be considered the native of the land? Because I'm wondering if he's speaking of the land of that they're in right now, or the land that's coming, which will be Canaan. Because technically, the Canaanites will be natives of that land. They're not. These are sojourners, basically, who are coming to occupy that land. So, I just find it interesting his language that he used. Mm-hmm. All right, so back went to Numbers 28, 16, 25. Okay, and in the first month, here we go again. It's repeating some of the same stuff. On the 14th day of the month is the Passover of the Lord. And on the 15th day, here was on Feast of Unleavened Bread again. On the 15th day is a feast. 7 days shall you eat unleavened bread. Now, I've run into some people who thought that all you're supposed to eat during the Feast of Unleavened Bread was unleavened bread. I'm like, what gives you the idea? Because it says eat unleavened bread. It says that in 2 other books. But in Numbers, something very different is being spoken. And something very different is going to be spoken, which was not spoken in Exodus. So I could see how somebody only read Exodus and come away with the idea, wow, dude, we got to go 7 days eating just bread? Dang. You know what I'm saying? So here we go. 7 days shall you eat unleavened bread, and the first day shall be to you a holy convocation. You shall do no servile work, and you shall bring whole burnt offerings of sacrifice to the Lord. 2 calves of the herd, 1 ram, 7 lambs of a year. They shall be to you without blemish, and their meat offering shall be fine flour mixed with oil. 3/10 deals for 1 calf, and 2/10 deals for 1 ram. You shall offer 1/10 for each lamb for the 7 lambs. And you shall offer 1 kid of the goats for a sin offering. That was never mentioned before. How there is supposed, because see, this is after Leviticus, and in the book of Leviticus is where the sacrifices are detailed, and what animal is for what sacrifices. So it would make sense that after that instruction was given, now I can give you guys some more instructions on how to conduct the Passover and Feast of Unleavened Bread. You shall offer 1 kid, okay, to make atonement for yourselves. So, it seems like there's a day of atonement, but atonement is also supposed to be made around the time of Passover, preceding Passover. All right, and I'm curious because I know every family is not supposed to do this. I can't say that because the scripture doesn't say. But I'm wondering, do you expect every family? It seems infeasible. Unfeasible? Infeasible? It's I don't know. I forgot how to come. It doesn't seem feasible to me that.
Infeasible.
Infeasible?
Yeah, we're gonna go with that one.
Okay, we're gonna go there. It didn't sound right, but I'm gonna go with it. Yeah. I'm trying to sound educated, and maybe have an opposite effect. But so I'm trying. I can't wrap my mind around this idea that one family is supposed to sacrifice all this stuff, unless these are all burnt offerings, which it does not mention. Unless the 2 calves are burnt offering. But as far as I'm concerned, this would complement the Feast of Unleavened Bread and make it a daggone feast. Because now we got some cow meat, we got some lamb meat, and we got some goat meat. You know, hook it up, and then we have like a big. So I'm not sure if the elders are to go and supply this or what. It still escapes my mind how this is to be conducted.
Yeah.
All right. But I do know that in Josiah, it details how many calves he sacrificed, how many goats, how many lambs, and it was in tens of thousands at some point. So I guess it was just like the Passover. That ram was supposed to be gotten according to how many people could eat it. If it's a family of 5, y'all all can't eat that one lamb, y'all go get another family to join y'all of a few more members, and then that lamb will suffice to feed everybody for that feast. This may have been done the same way. So
I was going to say, reading from Josephus, it sounds like it sort of explains it.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. And see, I'm gonna tell you something. When there were kings ruling Israel after this, the kings would supply sometimes the sacraments for the sacrifice. Okay, so some of this, so it said that Josiah, from his own supply, I guess you could say, provided all this because what happened was the king taxed the people where what they owned was a portion of what they owned was his. So he had it in abundance, where somebody individually may have had that much. Okay? All right. So you shall offer, okay, you should offer, okay, and you shall offer 1 kid of goats to make it, besides the perpetual whole burnt offering in the morning. Now, this whole burnt offering in the morning is completely different and is not germane to Passover or Feast of Tabernacles. Every day, Israel was to offer a morning sacrifice and an evening sacrifice. And that's what he's saying. He's saying, look, do all this stuff, make all these sacrifices, but don't you forget my morning sacrifice, nor my evening sacrifice. Okay? Which is a whole burnt offering for a continuance. Basically saying the same thing I just said. These shall you thus offer daily, 7 days, a gift, a sacrifice for a sweet-smelling savor to the Lord. Now, I noticed that when it came to a sweet-smelling savor, it was the burnt offering that was a sweet-smelling savor to him, because some people might think, well, whatever you burn on the grill is going to be a sweet-smelling savor to him. But I noticed that the term sweet-smelling savor only refer to burnt offerings. Now, I could be wrong. It may be a place where it doesn't refer to a burnt offering and you still see that terminology used. But I'm just going to say, from what I observed in my not too recent studies about this, is a sweet-smelling savor. Besides the continual whole burnt offering, you shall offer its drink offering. This is how I know it ain't being kept. This is how I know the Torah is not being kept by us. Okay, so we stop all that stuff. And the 7th day shall be a holy convocation. You shall do no servile work on it. All right. So as you can see, Exodus was in red. Exodus was in blue. Leviticus was in green. Numbers is in red. So this should make it easy to identify these. When I compile this all together and put it all together, it should make it easy to compile, to identify what text belongs to which book, and I did it this way on purpose. Right? Okay. So now Deuteronomy is in orange. We're in Deuteronomy 16, 1 through 8. I don't know if it's legible, if it can be seen or not.
It can be seen.
Okay. I don't want to leave you out, Deborah. Did you want to get some of this or what? It's only 8 verses, huh?
Yeah, you want me to read them?
Okay, it's only 8 verses. Can you see it?
I can see it. It's in pretty gold.
Is it okay?
Yes, it is. All right, Deuteronomy 16, 1 through 8. Observe the month of new corn. And stop me if you want to speak on something, please.
I was just about to too, because I want to, every time it says corn, I want to stop and talk about that.
Observe the month of new corn.
All right. Thank you. Now, we have seen this term used before. Well, no. We have seen a similar term being used prior to this. We say before it said, observe the month. No, okay. Let me put it this way. This really should be saying, observe the month of Abib. Okay, and many of you are familiar with that term. Abib is the month of Passover. Is a new year for the Israelites. But Abib also can mean a fresh green stalk of I guess barley, because that's what grows during that time. So a fresh green stalk. I forgot exactly, but I know it's something something to do with greenery. I don't remember the exact definition offhand, memory again. But so I wanted to make it a point that if you see this and you're not familiar with that term, new corn, it's not necessarily talking about corn on the cob, but even corn being an agricultural term that also refers to wheat and grains and things like that. I guess it has more to do with the size than it does have to do with the type of food. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. I'm not saying I'm right on that. I'm just speculating at this point. Okay. So the month of a new corn is synonymous or synonym for Abib, synonym for the month of it helps you to understand what time of year this would be anyway.
Yeah.
Because I guess this is where the idea that Abib was determined by when the new corn grew. But then later scholars decide, no, it's not that. It has to be a certain amount of moons. Okay, so there's this ongoing debate. I think the people who said no, is based off the grain, lost that debate to the people who thought it was about the moon.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I think. I'm not sure, but anyway.
Continue.
Oh yeah.
And you shall sacrifice the Passover to the Lord your God, because in the month of new corn you came out of Egypt by night. And you shall sacrifice the Passover to the Lord your God.
I want to say something. Real quick. Now, if we read the story regarding the Exodus, there's some clues. There was a hailstorm, one of the plagues of Egypt, of the Egyptians. Mm-hmm. There was a hailstorm that pretty much destroyed the lot of their agricultural crop. And it makes a point to mention the state of that livestock. Not livestock, but the crop before it was destroyed. It said while the ear was still in the something. I can't remember. I didn't expect to bring it up, or else I would have studied prior to this video. But it makes mention that it was as the barley or whatever crop that was first started coming up, and it was ripe. It wasn't even ripe yet. It was still fresh. It was still in the leaf and not fully out of the leaf yet, or whatever the green part was. That's when the hailstorm came upon it. And so I guess it was to let us know that, hey, they weren't going to get no crop that year. So they were going to suffer not only economically, they were going to suffer agriculturally and food-wise. Food supply was going to suffer because of the hailstorm. So God did a multitude of things with that one plague, and it affected Egypt in a multitude of ways. So I want to say that, but I want to tell people also too, when you read the plagues of Egypt, it's not like 10 days and it's over. A plague happens each day. There's some time between the plagues, and you can tell because a plague will happen, and then one day later, a few days later, whatever, Pharaoh would come to Moses and say, hey, please stop this. Could you pray to God that he will stop this plague? And Moses would say to him, yeah, I'm going to do it in the morning. I'll go. I'll do that. I'll do that for you. I mean, I thought it was funny. I always think that's funny to read. So if anybody has the idea that these plagues happened in succession, day 1, day 2, day 3, and day 10, they left Egypt. Nah, I studied that before, and I read a scholar who said it's possible that these plagues took a year to play out. I don't know if it took that long, but hey, I'm just gonna say it took some time, and it wasn't quick. All right, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Sheep and oxen, in the place which the Lord your God should choose to have the king call upon it.
Oh, please,
That's my favorite part.
please. Let me get on this right quick.
It's all yours.
All right. Somebody calling me. Okay, sorry about that, y'all. In the place which the Lord your God shall choose.
Yes.
It's his choice, not your god daggone choice, where you keep the Passover. So if you are an American, and he already chose his place, Jerusalem. He already chose that place.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks to Solomon, when he dedicated the temple, at the inaugural ritual service of the temple, Most High told Solomon, I'm placing my name here. Okay? And so that's why every temple afterward found its home in Jerusalem. Okay? Then we got Solomon's temple, we had the rebuilding of Solomon's temple, then we had Herod's temple. Okay? It's funny because the tabernacle first home was not there. I believe the tabernacle's first home was Shiloh, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
But it eventually worked its way to Jerusalem because of David. Mm-hmm. Because of David and his preference of the Judites. So anyway, so it's very important to notice this commandment because it nullifies everything you do.
Yes.
If it's not followed. The Lord your God shall choose to have his name called upon it. See, now this is in Deuteronomy. They're still out in the wilderness somewhere. I think they're near Moab, mm-hmm. in the Deuteronomy. And so he's taught this whole system of laws that he's given, the whole Torah, is about what's going to happen when we get there. This is how we're going to govern ourselves there. This is going to be our constitution once we get there. Right? Some of the laws they followed in the wilderness, like Shabbat, and if you read about the Shabbat and when the manna was given, you'll find out that God specifically gave them manna to test them to see if they would keep his laws. And we found out that they, you know what they did with it on the Shabbat. There were some mistakes that were made, but for the most part, they pretty much followed it. But it's very important that if there's a law like this facing you, that's in your face, then what you need to do is go get a malaria shot, whatever shots you need to go overseas, get your passport. And if you really hell bent on trying to keep this, which I'm telling you now, I'm trying to save you some money, some time, and some heartache. The Torah is not keepable. Embrace the new covenant. You are in the new covenant now. Thank you, Yeshua. Yes. Okay? Thank you. And so embrace the new covenant and all the time you spend on trying to be a good student and give the teacher to the apple. Give the apple to the teacher and get good credit with God, whatever you're trying to do by doing this. Spend that same energy and effort into the new covenant. Right. And one day we will do a study on what is the new covenant. Okay, so anyway, that's all I had to say. I'm going to keep it short.
Okay. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm going to go on.
Okay.
Because half your thing is cutting me off.
I'm sorry.
No, we're fine. Sheep and oxen in the place where your God should choose to have his name called upon it. You shall not eat leaven with it.
Uh-huh.
Okay, I got to go to mine. 7 days shall you eat unleavened bread with it.
Uh-huh.
Bread of affliction.
Stop it. You can see the Bible is its own best dictionary. Okay? Some of you guys like to go into a lexicon, which, hey, look, I'm in agreement with that. A lexicon lexicon. And some of you guys like to go into an American dictionary. I say stop that foolishness because it doesn't really explain the words that are being used in the Bible because they have been translated to according to the words that the translator wishes to use for those words. Okay, but when we come to the bread of affliction, which I know that gives some people pause because they don't understand what it means. It's telling you now unleavened bread is referred to as the bread of affliction, which would make sense because the reason why it was made in the first place is because they left Egypt and we didn't have the time to give their bread proper time to make its own yeast and rise. They left before the bread had a chance to yeast, and that's why they eating cracker like bread, flat bread and stuff like that. So that is your definition for what a bread of affliction is. Because I think in another place it mentions bread of affliction, and people had other ideas about what that meant. So I just want to address that because it came in mind.
Yeah.
All right, you can go ahead. Go ahead.
Because you came forth out of Egypt in haste, that you may remember the day of your coming forth out of the land of Egypt all the days of your life.
Now, I want to say this real quick. The word remember is a covenant word. I'm not gonna go into it at all. I'm just gonna say the word remember is a covenant word, and if you can remember that, it will broaden your understanding and enlighten you as far as understanding the rest of the Bible. Okay.
Leaven shall not be seen with you in all your borders for 7 days.
Mm-hmm.
There shall not be left of the flesh which you shall sacrifice at eve on the first day until the morning. You shall not have power to sacrifice the Passover in any of the cities.
You gotta stop. Okay. Right on. This is the most important verse to me, to help strengthen my argument against those who want to take an outlawed approach and think they have a license to do Passover any way they want to. This is where God draws the line. Okay, He says, "You shall not have power, or you ain't got. It's not your prerogative to sacrifice the Passover in any of the cities which the Lord your God gives you." Okay, He's going to give them some cities, and He gives them cities in Canaan. So if you thought it was okay to do whatever you wanted to over here in the United States, they couldn't even do that in Canaan. They had to do it in a specific location. I'm going to let you go ahead and read the rest of it.
Which the Lord your God gives you, but in the place which the Lord your God shall choose to have his name called there.
And for the record, He's already chosen where it's supposed to be. And if it's not done there, it's not Passover. Okay? It's just you eating some lamb from Kroger's or Shoppers or Giant, wherever you got it from, and you grilled it. All these, well, I don't know if they got lamb. They might have lamb.
No, but I do have a question. Did he choose one place, or did he choose a place each time? Because I know a lot of people have a question about that. Was there ever somewhere chosen other than the one place, Jerusalem?
I'm going to say this because if he did, I don't see it written anywhere.
Okay.
So I'm not going to say he did. I'm not going to say he didn't. I don't like to put words in his mouth or make up what he did. But I'm going to say this. Every time I see Israel corporately celebrating the Passover,
it's Jerusalem.
It's Jerusalem. And I'm going to say this, that there was a time, I think, even David didn't celebrate the Passover. And the Bible will tell you that because it will say that I think Hezekiah was the first one, if I'm not mistaken. Hezekiah was the first one to celebrate the Passover. And it says the Passover, and the Bible mentions, the Passover has not been celebrated since the time we had arrived in either since Joshua, or it mentions how many years it hasn't been celebrated. I think it was like 300-something years. So, like I said, I'm shooting from the hip here, I'm going by memory because I know this stuff is being brought up as we read it, and I didn't anticipate these discussions, which is cool though. This is cool. So I'm gonna say that, and if I tell you what, get in your book, trying to find out what I'm talking about, and you prove me wrong. Don't be asking me to show you where it is. How about you? You go do some word searches and stuff like that to find out what I'm talking about, because it's very searchable. I give you all the clues you need to find out exactly where it is. Okay, so you read the whole thing?
Mm-hmm.
Let me see. Oh, okay, we got a little bit more.
Oh, here we go. You should sacrifice the Passover at eve at the setting of the sun.
Well, hold up now. This reason why I'm saying hold up, because this is important. You see these laws. Some of these laws are getting a bit more detailed the further we go into the book. Now you won't get this because it's said at even, like three other books said at evening. But this is the first book that told you exactly when at evening, because you might be clueless. You might like, wait a minute, you know what? In some places, 3 o'clock is evening. I'm gonna go ahead and sacrifice 3 o'clock. And in other places, to other people, 7 o'clock is the evening. We have no idea. But he said at the setting of the sun, so it gives you an exact time period to follow. And look, this is going to be in April. I'm going to just say April for, because it could be March, April, whatever, right? So in March, April, the sun sets a lot sooner than would in, let's say, July, June, August, And I think March and April is just when it starts to get a little later, Yeah.
At the time when you came out of Egypt, and you shall boil and roast and eat in it the place which the Lord your God shall choose. And you shall return in the morning and go to your house. 6 days shall you eat unleavened bread. On the 7th day is a feast to the Lord your God. You shall not do it any work, save what must be done by anyone.
Well, it's funny because that would be different. No, I guess it wouldn't. I was going to say that would be different than what they actually did in the enactment of, or the actual events that played out to cause this to be a holy day in the first place. Because when they left Egypt, I was going to say traveling was some work, but it wasn't servile work. There's a different kind of work, servile work. But yeah, okay. I think that'll do it. We didn't conclude it. The study, Deb.
Wow.
Thanks. Well, study phase 1. This is phase 1. Yeah. This is to make known what the laws are. Next, we're going to differentiate between the laws that were given in what period of time and when they were given, and and then try to make a compilation of all of them together to get a complete understanding of how they all should fit together. That's my job. Okay. So yeah, good job.
Love it. Well done.
Oh, thank you. And I think that's it. You feel good about it?
Awesome.
All right, guys. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Can understand with an open heart and an open mind.
I do too. I hope because a lot of people in our circle of people we hang out with, or whatever I guess you call it, they have a bravado about them. They have a false arrogance about them that they're so confident in what they know, and what they know isn't much. Okay, and that's why I try to keep a humble approach to what I do know, because it came through much humility that I learned what I learned, and I'm like, look, they should have that same approach, then they could increase in their learning as well. Mm-hmm. So it's not to prove anybody wrong. It's not to wag a finger at them. What it is to liberate your punk. I'm sorry, I had to edit what I was going to say. It's what it's doing. It is liberating. It's to liberate people, because I know so many women that are in bondage to a man who's going around roaring and stuff at them. And so I'm thinking, well, hey, if you knew what you're supposed to know about this, you would kick that man to the curb in the first place before you ever hooked up, before you even had his baby, before y'all had a bank account together and all that kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? And it's by the truth Well, let me put it this way: the truth shall make you free, and it's a perfect example of how. Because I know so many people that's in bondage to people that's lording over them with falsehood.
I know, sad.
And manipulating them with falsehood because they won't read. And that's why I'm here, because I know reading is 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 uh is cumbersome sometimes. You know, it's difficult, it's boring, etc., etc. But if you have somebody to read with, you have somebody going through this stuff with you who can break it down and somewhat explain it, then it makes it a little bit more enjoyable, especially if you do it in a group setting. Yes. So that's what I'm trying to provide.
Yes. And this is why I love partnering with you.
Oh.
Because it's not just a matter of reading, because anybody can read. You can put 12 people in a room and they can all read the book and still not understand it.
Right.
But you do force people to open their eyes and to look at what you call ATD, attention to details.
Attention to detail. Thank you.
You will not understand these words, and this is why it is my honor to co-host with you.
Oh, appreciate it. Yeah, I appreciate you. I appreciate you being a co-host with me. I can't think of anybody I would rather have doing it. And huh?
Nothing.
I ain't even okay.
Okay, it's nothing. Never mind.
Okay, I got you. Yeah, so we're not going to hold you guys any longer. I appreciate the time you spent watching us. This has been brought to you by sWordSmiths, and we have a group on Facebook. Go ahead and subscribe, like, share the video.
Yes.
It will be on YouTube. It'll also be on Facebook. Get the word out and get it around there. Feel free to join us. We don't have a set schedule as of yet, but if you subscribe, you will always get notifications as to when I put a new video up, or if I go live. How about that? Because what I'm planning on doing is taking this to YouTube Live. I tried Facebook Live, but for some reason my software wouldn't agree with it. But I'm gonna try Facebook Live. I'm sorry, YouTube Live, and spend some time with you guys over there. It's a different audience. It's a different audience on YouTube. These people are over there to watch videos. On Facebook, they just want to see a funny video of something stupid and then call it quits and go on and find other funny stuff to look at on Facebook. Yeah. All we have is jokesters on Facebook, so I want a crowd that takes this seriously, because our videos can be kind of lengthy, and only the serious will get enjoyment and fulfillment out of them. So
lengthy but powerful. Lengthy but powerful.
Yeah, I appreciate it. All right, Deb, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate your company. Gave me the confidence I needed to say these words that I'm saying today.
My pleasure.
All right, y'all. That's it for Wandell and Deb and sWordSmiths Bible Study. We shall see you guys next time.
See you soon.
Bye-bye. Bye. All right, so I have